How y'all boys doing today? I'm doing fabuloso. Alright, today I have another reaction video for y'all.
Nice.
Today we're gonna be reacting to like a little backstory of William Afton. I'm trying to get more into my like FNAF stuff, you know. FNAF is really popular, so I just want to get into it. I have more games coming out. I have a schedule, so hopefully this goes all planned, you know. You're almost at 9K, so make sure you sub and enjoy today's video.
Many interesting factors define Five Nights at Freddy's. Whether it be the passionate fan base, humble beginnings, or influence on gaming, the internet has felt it all. However, one character in FNAF seems to transcend all of this. That is the franchise's villain, William Afton. This evil man is responsible for many horrible actions throughout the games, movies, and books. Despite his significant role, we don't have much confirmed information on him, which makes understanding him difficult.
Make sure you like the video.
In this video, I will give you all the knowledge you'll need from across the books, games, and film to understand who FNAF's original villain truly is and what you may have missed. William's first theoretical appearance in the FNAF franchise is pretty funny. When FNAF 1 was released, some believed the player to be a murderer reliving the scene of his crime, and others thought the phone guy to be the murderer. Either way, fans quickly concluded that something supernatural was going on with these animatronics. This leads to FNAF 2 running on with this idea and introducing minigame cutscenes depicting a pink or purple sprite actively participating in the children's murders. You also get this iconic purple guy wandering the halls with a security badge and crate. At first, no official name was given to the sprite, so he was dubbed Purple Guy. Most of the community understood this was the big villain of FNAF, and solving his identity became a priority. The only problem is that there wasn't an extensive roster of characters to choose from. We had Phone Guy from FNAF 1, Phone Guy from FNAF 2, Mike Schmidt, Fritz Smith, and Jeremy Fitzgerald. These characters were guaranteed to be human and play some role in the lore of FNAF. Theories and speculation about these characters occurred on platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter. The only solid connection fans could make was the Phone Guy from FNAF 2 saying that his favorite animatronic was Foxy, and the minigame cutscene where the mysterious pink guy smiling is in the corner when Foxy runs out. Similarly, he expressed a sense of disdain for the puppet. This is important because we know this 8-bit killer murders a child outside Fredbear's, and the jump scare after insinuates that that child's spirit lives inside the puppet. However, Scott made sure to keep things interesting. In one of the phone calls, a phone guy comments on how something terrible occurred in the pizzeria concerning an old suit left in the back. This caught a lot of fans off guard. Wasn't the phone guy the villain? Why is he the one telling us to be on guard? There's also another unnamed employee of Fazbear's who gets moved to the day shift. Could he be Purple Guy? Despite that phone call, everyone was divided in their opinion of who this villain was. Moving on to the third game, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, everything changed. Now, our player was set in a pseudo 1v1 against Springtrap, a Golden Bonnie suit that contained the corpse of the Purple Guy. Purple Guy possessed this suit in some manner and was determined to sneak into the player's office and kill them. Outside the nightly gameplay, players got to experience very perplexing minigames. These minigames depicted the core 4 Fazbear animatronics following a Purple Freddy costume throughout a dilapidated pizzeria. Once the animatronics reached the safe room, they were blocked from entry. A few seconds later, after a loud noise plays, our iconic Purple Guy returns to dismantle the animatronics. In the moment, it was cool. This villain who had always been in the shadows was now front and center. And while seeing this 8-bit bad guy was exciting, we didn't know what he was doing. Was he trying to hide the evidence of his crimes, or was something far more sinister at play? Scott didn't provide any answers, and instead released Five Nights at Freddy's 4. If you asked me where the story development of Five Nights at Freddy's began, I would say FNAF 4. In this game, we play through nightmarish sequences of gameplay where horrifying versions of the original Fazbear crew are out to get us. These nightmares are played as if we are a child fighting these horrid monsters from our bedroom. When you're not on the regular nights, you play as the crying child. This kid still has no confirmed name within the franchise, but plays an important role. In this game and future releases, we would conclude that this was the child of Purple Guy, also known as William Afton. Finally, we have an insider's perspective of this villain's family and home life. What we see is a young boy bullied by an older brother. With more context from stories like Step Closer, this ruthless torture the crying child went through was likely due to the absence of William from the lives of his children. Everyone knows how the story ends, with the older brother Michael pulling a twisted joke on his younger brother and shoving his head into the mouth of the Fredbear animatronic.
Oh my gosh, I know. Running ads in the big 2-5, bro. Come on, bro.
Here, something traumatic and tragic occurs in the life of William Afton. Remember, the community didn't know much about William. Heck, they didn't even know his name. They only got the reveal that he has 2 sons and a prominent role in the Fredbear's establishment. So when the crying child gets bit and transported to the hospital, we get this line to close out the game. I will put you back together. Boom. At long last, the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom had some form of motivation they could attribute to the purple sprite. This villain may have murdered others as a form of revenge for the loss of his son, or perhaps he was researching the human soul and its capabilities. Whichever theory you had, you finally had something to go off. FNAF 4 made the purple guy a purple dad with a purple broken heart. His youngest died, and the weight of that death was on his shoulders. And that was it. There lies the original story of Five Nights at Freddy's if Scott Cawthon had not decided to cash in on literature. While Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was released on July 23rd, 2015, the first FNAF book, The Silver Eyes, was released on December 17th later that year. In this book, we get an alternative narrative of FNAF's story. In the first book, we were introduced to Dave. Dave is a security guard of an abandoned mall that contains Freddy's Pizzeria. Here, he guides our main character Charlie and her friends through the pizzeria and even shows them how to operate the old animatronic suits. While he seems odd and quirky at first, he turns into a blatant villain when he hops into a Spring Bonnie suit and kidnaps someone named Carlton. Even his depiction in the graphic novels shows a very unsettling smile and look in his eyes as he puts on the suit. Within the first novel, William is a psychotic man whose obsession with the animatronics and lack of care for others is apparent. He puts Carlton into a spring-lock suit that could kill him and commits a definite act of murder when an unsuspecting Officer Dunn is searching the pizzeria. William's depiction in The Silver Eyes is the first time fans have ever met this villain in a more personalized manner, and they loved it. This version of William matched the theories that fans had crafted around the purple sprite. Him being a psychotic villain who killed others out of a twisted place of enjoyment or lack of empathy fit the narrative Scott had crafted. The way he describes the children's souls being trapped in the suits and them not realizing that their supposed friend is their murderer is written in a manner that implies he enjoys that. At the moment, this book did a great job of providing more information about William Afton and what's possible within the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. It's a shame everything changes once you get to Sister Location and the Twisted Ones. Scott Cawthon moves into more sci-fi territory within this respective game and book. Example A is Sister Location's emphasis on ultra-futuristic robots. The Sister Location animatronics can store humans in their stomachs, mimic adults' voices, and track the number of people in a room. The technology of the 1980s was nowhere near capable of something like this. Something similar to this occurs in the Twisted Ones, where the novel's version of William Afton uses high-pitched frequencies to distort people's vision so they see giant monsters. The villain, who had previously been a murderer encouraged by his lunacy, was starting to shift into something else. Now he was this mad scientist obsessed with creating highly effective killing machines that would do the job for him. Before FNAF 6, we didn't know about Remnant or Agony, so this sudden shift into William Afton kidnapping children seemingly for research didn't make sense. I mean, if William is kidnapping children, it had the community was trying to solve at the time. If you recall, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 introduced us to Afton's youngest son, the Crying Child, and showed us his death in 1983. In Sister Location, we met Elizabeth Afton, his daughter. Within a minigame, we learned that she was an accidental casualty of Circus Baby. The animatronic Afton had designed in the inspiration of his daughter would be the very thing that took her life. Interestingly, within the Twisted Ones, a massive reveal is that Afton kidnapped and killed the main character Charlie when she was a child. You may be wondering how she's alive in the books then. Well, it implies she's a robot. Considering all of that, you could theorize that William Afton intended to use the Funtime animatronics as a science experiment. He was going to use the robots to research immortality or how to bring back someone from the dead, like his son or daughter. So now, William Afton's story changed in the eyes of the community. Instead, William had started as some crazy scientist who abandoned all morals and ethics in the pursuit of combining animatronics with the human spirit to reverse death. Notice how this new game and book adds a lens in which we view the story of William, where at first he was just a crazy psychopath who murders kids, has his kid killed, and then gets served justice by being spring-locked. He now experiments with soul science, which is either a driving force for the murders he commits, or something he learns about after he commits the murders. However you cut the cake, the William Afton lore cake is gaining new layers. So when Pizzeria Simulator's release surprised the internet, we were shocked to see Scott double down on this and sprinkle in new details. In the game, you can find blueprints of machinery like the scooper, which highlights this new variable called Remnant. This soul-powered sauce is so important that it even appears in the fourth closet, the final book in the Silver Eyes trilogy. In both the games and books, it's implied to be this extractable portion of the spirit when mixed with metal. This soul sauce is what William uses to create ultra-powerful animatronics like the Funtimes in the games and books. Once again, this leaves the general fanbase of FNAF thinking of William as this lunatic who, in the search for immortality and science, uses murders committed by himself and his animatronics to advance his research. The game also gives us this cutscene where William Afton drives home from Fredbear's family diner. The cutscene takes place after William murders Charlie Emily, the daughter of his business partner Henry. The cutscene shows him being turned away from a location with the name Junior's, which could be the name of a bar, hinting at William having a drinking problem. Speaking of Henry Emily, let's quickly cover what we know know about their relationship. The Silver Eyes book hints that William Afton and Henry Emily founded Fredbear's Family Diner together. For reasons not entirely explained in the books, William would kidnap and murder Charlie Emily. This tragic event in Henry's life led him to create the robot Charlies before taking his own life at the hand of an animatronic he programmed. Within the games, the story unfolds a bit differently. William and Henry co-own Fazbear Entertainment, but when Charlie is murdered, Henry disappears off the map, waiting for his chance at revenge. Unfortunately for William, Henry gets his revenge in FNAF 6. After FNAF 3's fire, Springtrap was loose for an unknown time. Only after that time did Henry Emily and Michael Afton use a prop pizzeria to lure him back along with his other creations, Scrap Baby and Molten Freddy, and burn everything. Intriguingly, William meets a similar fate in the fourth closet. William Afton is grabbed by his metallic abomination and burned in a furnace, ending his story once and for all. Even his attempt at bringing his daughter back by corrupting his business partner's machine has its story cut short by a comically oversized blade. In both the Silver Eyes trilogy and games, Afton and his creations meet their deserved fate in death, ending his story once and for all. Or so you think. Within what was initially teased as a challenging mode for FNAF, Ultimate Custom Night dropped more lore for William Afton. In this game, we play as William, who is caught in a hellish nightmare powered by a child named the One You Should Not Have Killed. This kid is one of William's victims who has trapped him in a cycle of death. This child is one of William's
You don't
many
understand
victims,
what's going on, bro?
the number of which has never been confirmed.
I'm lost, bro.
Interestingly, it's one of William's last confirmed appearances. But this isn't the end of his story. William Afton's return or revival is teased within Steel Wool's future game releases, Security Breach and Help Wanted. Help Wanted presents us with this malicious digital entity named Glitchtrap, which uses a color palette similar to Spring Bonnie and Purple Guy. Meanwhile, Security Breach took it to the next level by having William's rotten corpse play an active role in the game. Afton got the name Burntrap and appeared in a cutscene emerging from a charging station as if ready to attack. While context and time have helped prove these details to not be important, it's still interesting. Afton's game line story ended in the Pizzeria Simulator fire. However, his remains are still buried under that pizzaplex, and the Glitchtrap AI seems to be an artificial intelligence that has copied his personality and identity in certain places. And despite all that, there's still much more to discuss regarding William, especially his role in the popular Five Nights at Freddy's book series, Fazbear Frights. William appears in the story What We Found, which mirrors the gameplay in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Here, a night guard named Hudson experiences the worst night shift anyone could have due to intense hallucinations caused by Springtrap. If I'm reading the story right, Springtrap is hung up as a prop within Fazbear Frights, and it's only when Hudson touches Springtrap that the chaos begins. Aside from that, Springtrap doesn't do anything in particular, it's just because of his existence that everything spirals. The other stories he appears in are the Stitch Wraith Stingers and The Man in Room 1280. The Man in Room 1280 tells the story of a burnt and scarred man, William Afton, who shouldn't be alive but somehow is. He's alive because the spirit of a child named Andrew keeps him trapped in his mind. Andrew puts William through what we believe are nightmares, and it's only when William manages to trick the hospital staff into taking him to a Fazbear distribution center that he, I am not kidding, blows up. He self-implodes because the explosion causes his guts and agony to cover all the Fazbear products. That agony gives him a half-life after this where he can survive, but only as this evil, mindless being. When presented with the opportunity, Afton's agony possesses a large amount of Fazbear garbage and creates the Afton amalgamation. This rabbit, humanoid-shaped creature doesn't survive very long before being drowned. Interestingly, this Fazbear Frights version of Afton shares slight similarities with the Afton in the games. He's a serial killer who commits horrible crimes and also understands the supernatural. His plan to use the Fazbear Entertainment facility to keep himself alive is calculated and entirely in character for the Afton we know. When you look into the story Into the Pit and its new video game adaptation, things get complicated. This Spring Bonnie in the story is implied to be William Afton-esque. When the main character Oswald is teleported into the past, the 1980s Afton murders the kids and then chases Oswald. Oswald escapes to the present day, but the Spring Bonnie follows him, grabs his father, and drags him into the ball pit. Then the craziest thing happens. Spring Bonnie takes the place of Oswald's father. I am not kidding. The rest of the world sees this giant Springlock bunny costume as Oswald's dad, and he's the only person to see him differently. The story does have a happy ending with Oswald getting his dad back, but that bunny is what I want to talk about. Is William Afton in that suit? The answer is yes and no. At least that's my theory. Later, we learn that the ball pit Oswald enters doesn't teleport him back in time, but rather to a traumatic and horrifying time for the pizzeria. That Spring Bonnie suit we see is an agony reflection of the Afton who committed those crimes decades ago. While that concludes the Frights, we need to talk about one story in the next book series, Tales from the Pizzaplex. This one is titled Didophobia, and it tells the story of someone named Rory who was caught in a very unusual situation. Rory has been kidnapped by an unnamed stranger and set up in an experiment. He is put under the influence of hallucinogenic gas to comply with a pre-recorded voice and believes he's still a 7-year-old. While it's not directly stated that William runs these experiments, this could be an interesting nugget of information about what experiments and technology William has been messing with. So we now know who Afton is and who Afton isn't, leaving us with only one more place to go: the movie. William Afton's depiction in the FNAF movie is very similar to the Afton we find in the first Silver-Eyes book. In the book, William works a new job that gives him some control over the Fazbear location. Also in the movie, William uses Steve Raglan as an alias instead of William Afton. Another comparison between the two is their relationship with the law. Within the Silver-Eyes, it's implied William was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder, but without the bodies being found, the prosecution couldn't charge him. In the movie, Vanessa states how the bodies of the children were never found because they were hidden in the suits. And with William changing his name, you could theorize that something similar occurred in the movie. Kids went missing and William was blamed, but eventually released because no bodies were found. A detail within the movie that could be connected to the games is William's troubling relationship with his daughter Vanessa. In the games, it's implied that Michael and William's relationship never recovered after the death of the crime child. Some in the community have gone as far as to say Michael helped William commit more crimes because he was trying to win his father's love back. In the movie, you see something slightly similar. Vanessa appears to follow her father's commands because she's afraid of him or is trying to please him. And the final, and my favorite comparison, is the ending of the FNAF movie with the Silver-Eyes. In the movie, William gets spring-locked, and once he collapses, the animatronics drag him away. The Silver-Eyes novel ends with William getting spring-locked and the animatronics dragging his lifeless husk backstage. The difference is that the first Silver-Eyes novel, in which William gets spring-locked, is caused by Charlie Emily, whereas the movie has the animatronics turning against him. It's the third novel, The Fourth Closet, where we see something similar to what was depicted in the movie. Afton uses the drawing of his iconic Golden Bunny costume, playing with the children to appease their spirits. Only when external forces start to mess with the drawings and show the children what happened do the animatronics become hostile. The novel has the animatronics grabbing William and hopping into a furnace, while the movie has the animatronics attacking and causing the spring locks to snap. Looking back at all of this, I can't help but get a little choked up. William Afton may not be the perfect villain, but he's the right villain for this franchise. Afton's motivation and personality in the games may be unclear, but there's one thing I'm certain of. William Afton was the best villain Scott could have created for this series. His character and role in this franchise constantly changed and grew to fit whatever we needed. And the best part is that we never got bored of him. To this day, people still want to see more of him and learn details concerning his life that haven't been explored yet. Now, fans do want it done right. Burn Trap isn't done well, but fans still want to see more of Fazbear's history with William in it.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I fell asleep like 3 times in that video. I didn't fall asleep. I closed my eyes. That's what it. Okay. I'm gonna end today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. I'm gonna hit 9K. We are 9.92K. 8.89. Okay. I'm tired. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this. Hope you guys enjoyed this playlist. Until you watch more FNAF content, so go ahead and do that right now. Peace.